different. Again, I think everyone would have gone through the same thing. Never go with the first few answers or the first few ideas that you have, because it's very common that everyone would have the same idea. And I would say if it's something like a product, maybe go get some inspiration. So, for example, I think last time we had to create a product or come up with an insect. I don't exactly remember the question, but then that time Avatar was like a new movie,
The
which was
first
really
few
trendy.
answers or the first few ideas.
So I took inspiration from that. So I would say taking inspiration from something would help you a lot, and it would make it a little bit more interesting. And since you could add more detailed and more fine features, that would make it more interesting. Any exam tips on time management? So if I'm not wrong, you have 3 questions and 3 answers. Sorry, 3 hours, right? Yes. Okay. So I would say give each question 1 hour, and always please keep time for the concept writing, because that does help a lot and it's very important. And if you're good at it, I would say give a little less time. But if you think you will take a lot more time in that, do the right amount of time according to what you think is right for you. Uh, um, when it comes to concept writing, I would say always give your artwork a title. It makes it a little bit more interesting. Always write your wording in points, because a lot of the times the teacher who's correcting your paper won't get the time to read it. And always underline the most important words, some things that is important or something that would keep it more interesting. I remember for my situation test, we had to create a room for an influencer, and someone wrote it in a format as if she was blogging it. So she wrote something like, "Hello, guys, welcome back to my blog, so and so." So making it a little bit more interesting would keep you a lot more different from the entire group. And I would say focus on the layout, and more than you should focus on the aesthetic, definitely, but your idea matters. So always come up with a good idea, remove the first few ideas which you think everyone would have, and then come up with your own personal idea. Any other questions?
How can we be quick in layouting for product design?
For product design, I think it's important. So what I would do is I would always keep the product in the center. And then if there's any details in particular that you would want to give it, show the smaller details in small dialog boxes on the corners. Always give color variations. You can talk a little about sustainability. That's always very interesting. Talk about an inspiration. I would say always give your product some kind of inspiration. It could be an animal, a fruit, anything. Uh, what else can you do? Give your product a name and add something related to the new technology, because that's always going to keep the teachers a little bit more interested. And whatever happens, see that it doesn't look too blotchy or too messy, because then it would be a very hard. Hello, am I audible? Sorry, I think I got logged out.
Yeah, it's okay. You are audible. So one of question student asked that how was your GAT to you and how did you manage for the GAT exam?
My GAT paper also went well. For me, I did study a lot about fashion, but I think for me, no question about fashion came. So I think that's just luck. You can't really say. I would say always start with something that you are 100% sure that you can do. So even if it's drawing, start with a question that you're good at, because that's going to help you with your confidence. And for me in GAT, for me, math was something that I was interested in, something I think I could do really well. So start with that. And then go to GK, because GK is either yes or no. You can either know the question or you won't know the question. And I would say don't waste with questions you think you're going to take a lot of time. because again, you're just going to start panicking and you will miss a lot of questions which you could have done and which you would have known the answers to. Or you can always come back later on, so that won't be an issue. And again, when it comes to marking, I think you have negative marking as well, right? So if you're 100% sure that you did well, and if there might be a few questions which you could probably just guess, and if you think it wouldn't affect your marks a lot, then go for it. But if you think it would affect your marks, I would say don't do it. It's not worth the risk.
Student, any other question? Please raise your hand and ask question, or you can put in the chat box itself. Naomi, I would like to ask you one question. Sometimes people or a student get panic in the exam itself. So how do they manage this thing in the during the exam?
Okay, for me, before the exam, I did not do anything related to studying because there's a lot of times you might come up with something completely new and you won't know the answer to, and there's no time to really learn it. Instead, your panic is just going to make you forget what you already know. So I would say don't do anything that's going to affect you that way. Instead, go for a walk, just listen to music, do whatever you think will calm yourself down. During the exam, if you think there's a question you don't know, even for me, that happened during situation tests. Suddenly the model just was about to break and I was going to go in a panic mode. But then I realized that you've put in so much effort. Don't give up. You know how to go back to it. So if you there's a part of your mind, or like there's a part of a question you think you can't do, calm yourself down, drink some water, skip that question, go to a part that you know. You can always come back to it later. Don't waste time on it.
Okay, thanks. A student. Okay. What sorts of things that you need to bring in the examinations hall?
Okay, get your basic stationery. Don't get anything new that you're not comfortable using, because at that point of time you might want to use it just because it's something interesting to you. But again, it might not come out the way you want to. Get your basic pencils, different kinds of HB pencils. Get your eraser, get your sharpener, and then get different kinds of color pencils. Again, sharpen everything and keep everything ready. Don't I would say don't get too many color pencils, because sometimes even that is going to take a lot of place and you won't know where to keep your things. So just get the basic amount. And yeah, get an extra sharpener, get an extra eraser just in case it doesn't work the right way. Get pens, pencils, because you might have to underline or write in pen. So that's about it.
Which type of questions a student should first attempt? Like,
I would say start with something you're good at, something that will keep your confidence going. So in GAT, you might not know all three, sorry, in CAT, you might not know all three questions, but there might be one question you think you can do or you've already done. So do that. But again, at the same time, just because you're good at it, don't give extra time to perfect it. Because again, at the same amount, even though you give it extra time, the marks allotted for it won't help you just get a good rank. The other questions, even though you're not as good at it, it does also, like, have some kind of weightage. So keep the same amount of time, but start with something you are 100% of confident with. Even for GAT, again, do something you're good at. So for me, it was math. So that's how I started with math. If you think English or something else is going to keep your confidence going, start with that.
okay, nice. Good. So, student, do you have any question? किसी के
There's a
पास
question.
network नहीं है ऐसा
I
तो
think
हो
there's one question: how to manage time in CAT, and what is more important, idea or aesthetic? I would say idea. Your idea matters a lot. So always focus on your idea and then go to the aesthetic part. So color as neatly as possible. And I think a lot of times we forget to read the question. I remember 2 years ago, you were supposed to do a question in black and white, and a lot of people around me colored it. So you're going to waste a lot of time, and your marks might get cut for that. And even last year, I think there was a question about sustainability or something related to nature. And again, a lot of people forgot the word nature. So again, over there, a lot of people made a lot of mistakes. So read the question at least 2-3 times.
Okay, great. Uh, at last moment, do you suggest students should read the like GK and all, or should they take rest for the last time? What did you do at the last moment?
Hello, am I audible? I think my network is a little bad.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Just give us some moment. Later rejoin again. And do you have any questions that I can answer?
Sorry, sir, I just rejoined.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I was there. So one student have asked a question in chat box. Please answer that.
Could you please text it again? I think all the previous questions went away. Or just speak it up.
Also, a student have asked these questions. So for the write-up part, which medium should we use? Either we should use pen or pencil.
For me, I don't remember if they asked us to write it in pen. If they do, write it in pen. If not, just write it in anything you're more comfortable with. But again, see that it's readable, because a lot of times some of y'all can write it in dark HB pencil, which may not be readable. So whatever happens, see that it's readable. That's what matters the most. And see that it's neat.
Okay, good. Any other question, student? So I would like to ask one questions related to this one. What write-up should be there? What types of idea to put in the write-up part?
Okay, I would say first of all, like I said before, come up with some kind of title for your artwork. If it's a product, if it's a scenery, anything, come up. It would just make it a little bit more interesting. If your composition has some kind of story to it, write it down. If your product has some kind of inspiration, write it down. Always write it in points, because again, the teachers don't have a lot of time to read the whole thing. Always underline the most important points. If it's a product, talk about its features, talk about the inspiration. If there's like variations in color, talk about it, talk about the material. If you can, please bring up something about sustainability. It makes it a lot more interesting. If it's about your composition, if they've asked something in particular, mention it. If not, just talk about your inspiration. If you can probably talk about how it's a memory of yours. Just bring a personal story. I think it always keeps it more interesting.
Guys, any specific dot?
Can we use brush pens or pastel colors? I don't think we can use brush pens. They've always asked for dry medium, so preferably color pencils. So I would say go with that. Don't take the risk. What did you do in the last 2 days before my exam? Before my exam, please don't learn anything new because I don't think it helps. Instead, you're just going to panic. Even I panicked a lot because I started trying to learn a lot of new things. So I would say don't do that. If it's drawing, just go through your previous work, go through your friends' work because you can get so much more inspiration from them. That helped me a lot. If it's CAT, English, I don't think there's anything new that you can do. GK, maybe go through previous work, but again, don't put a lot of pressure on it because you can't learn a lot of GK at this point. Instead, and again, it's only like a small amount of marks. So don't waste your time on that. Even math, maybe if you want, you can just go read the formulas, but don't start solving questions. Again, I don't think there's a lot you can do.
Naomi, how much time should we give for the ideation part?
Ideation part. Okay, so I think again, I would say don't give more than 10 minutes, max to max 15 minutes, max. Because even if you have an amazing idea, if you cannot put it down on paper, then what's the point of it? So always scrap the first few ideas. Again, if you can write down all your small ideas in the side of the sheet, or even draw it down, sketch it, whatever works for you, and then start working on it. If they've asked for coloring, if they please work on that, that helps a lot. If they've asked for just black and white, then you'll have a little bit more time to ideate. So do that.
What about write up?
For me, I was not very good with write up. I take a lot more time in write up. So I give around 15 minutes for each. I think maybe one of my questions didn't ask for a write up, then you're a little lucky because you don't have to put that much focus on it. But I would say give a title even if they don't ask for it. So I think again, it just depends on you. If you're
There is some network glitch. Sorry for that. So I guess we will rejoin.
keep thinking about what you can write, so you won't waste a lot of time in the end.
Like when you were writing the exam, so like what type of question mostly came when you were writing that? Like whether it was about the grill or the comic or storyboarding or posters or product designing.
Okay, for me, I don't exactly remember. I think they asked us
Yeah.
to create a product, if I'm not wrong. And in one of them, they asked us to use different English letters and create some kind of playground or something like that. We did not have storyboard. So for me, that was lucky because I'm not good at storyboarding. But yes, I think you can find it online. I gave the paper last year itself. I just don't remember. Sorry. Whatever happens, you need to remember that you've been working for so many months. So I'm sure all of you are really good at what you're doing. Just see that you don't get nervous because for me personally, every time I get nervous, I start messing up things. So the last time I gave my paper, I was just so calm and that helped a lot because I finished my paper really quickly. And because you're so calm, you can come up with a lot more ideas. And you've been working so hard. You have such good teachers, and I'm sure they gave you all of their advices. So it's not like you can't do it. Just calm yourself down. All of you all know every kind of question that's going to come. Just do it happily and peacefully. You'll be fine for sure. There's one question. If the question is like to write the steps to prepare a tea, do we have to write it like guide for preparing the tea, or we can write it as a personal story how I prepare the tea? Um, the main focus on should be on how the tea is made. You can always make it more interesting by showing it in different versions. So you could probably show it how you could show it the way you are making it personally, but I would say whatever happens, the drawing should look as neat as possible. And yes, just write it like a guide. But again, make it as interesting as possible. Instead of just drawing the process, you could probably show it as if it is in a poster, as if it's part of your YouTube channel, something like that, just to make it look a little bit more different. Or like how it comes on the back of a tea bag. So you could probably draw like a tea bag and then show the process, just something like that.
Student, anything else that you want to ask, or should we wrap up the session? If you have question, just you have 2 minutes. So please ask question.
There's one question: is it okay to bring an A3 exam pad for the CAT exam? You can, if you have it and you're comfortable using it, yes, get it.
How can we do different from others for basic ideas? If we are getting basic idea, so how can we stand out different?
For drawing. So like I said, for how to make a tea, the basic drawing of how to make a tea will be very similar to everyone. So what you can do is you can just showcase it in a different way. So maybe pretend draw it as if it's on a YouTube channel, maybe your YouTube channel. Show it as if it's at the back of a tea bag. Just simple things. I would say things like this, keep in mind beforehand itself. Come up with 2, 3 ideas beforehand, which you could use for almost all kinds of questions. So you won't waste a lot of time thinking at the spot.
YouTube live, one of the student has asked these questions. My math is weak, so should I skip that part?
Don't skip it entirely. I wouldn't recommend that. Again, start with something you're good at. And then I'm sure maybe in math, even if you're not really good at it, there'll be 1 or 2 questions you'll know. So start with the questions you know. If there's a question you think you can't solve, you'll take a lot of time, and you may or may not come up with the right answer, then skip those. Start with everything you know, finish all of that. Once you're 100% done with the paper, then go back to the questions you've not completed. And then if you still think there are a few questions that you can guess and you can still probably, you're okay with guessing, and it's okay if you lose a few marks because you've done well in the other parts, then do that. But yeah, start with something you're good at first.
The student from YouTube live, if you have any questions, please put in the live chat. So we will answer your question. Student, do you have any doubt or any question? In between, Naomi, you can just tell about your college life. How is it going on? So that it will be still in like the mood.
Okay, I just got one more question. In the last year CAT exam, did you answer the question on both the sides of the paper? Because rough was given only at the starting. So for us, I don't exactly remember, but then they had give allotted place. So they had written the question, and then there was a blank sheet where you had to draw. So I think it'll be the similar thing for you. So just draw wherever they ask you to do it. So you don't really have to worry about that because they will give you the place to draw. How much do we have to score in GAT? I don't know the exact number or the percentage right now.
So I guess you should score at least 35 marks in the GAT.
Okay.
So if
Is
your math is not good, you can focus on reasoning part and English if you are just preparing for the NIFT exam and you want to be a NIFTian. So your English should be good, I guess. So you can answer that all questions that is in English.
is the paper they give thick or thin? Like the quality of paper? It's a little thick, but again, not a lot. So again, I would say again, focus with dry colors only. Use pen only if they ask you to. Other than that, don't take the risk of using sketch pens or brush pens and leaking and going on the other side of the sheet.
What trying to do for the KD specifically?
How
So
many questions do we have to attempt? I think they will give it to, I think NIFT will 100% tell you how many questions to give in the question paper itself. Usually, you're supposed to answer all 3 questions in CAT, and in GAT, again, you're supposed to answer all the questions. If they have changed the kind of questions or the type of questions, they'll definitely mention it in the question paper, so don't worry about that.
some one of the student has from the live chat in the YouTube. So she has asked that how to manage a paragraph question like comprehension that is in English part, English section.
Okay, for me, what I first did is what Shruti ma'am used to always tell us is first go read all the questions because you're going to waste a lot of time first reading reading the comprehension, then going to the question, and then going back to the comprehension. So read all the questions so you will know what kind of answers you're supposed to be looking at the comprehension. And then once you figure that out, then start going to the comprehension. If you think it's very similar to what the answer is asking for, then underline them so that you won't have to go back to it. So I would say always read the question first.
So rank related questions we will answer after the exam itself. So but now I can just answer few questions. So first student has asked, like PNC has asked, that what rank do we need for the NIFT Delhi? So again, it just depends. So from which category do you belong to, and then which department do you want to take in NIFT Delhi? So it will depend. So if you are from general category, so your rank should be for the NIFT Delhi for any centers, like your rank should be under 500. Any other question related to exam? Now focus on your exam, not focus on your rank. So do better. You will, if you will get a good rank, you will have a chance to select any college. Again, paper related questions. Naomi, one Harsini has asked this thing, that is the paper smooth that they provide, and again this thing that they got some paper in NID examination that was not so smooth and color got stick in that.
I think it was fine because I used normal Staedtler color pencils and they worked completely fine and it came out pretty well. So I don't think you should really worry about that because if it does not work for you, always remember everyone around you is also using the same kind of pencils. So even they'll come up with the same problem. So again, it's going to be a problem for everyone. So you don't have to really worry about that. It won't be a personal problem for you. And for me, it was completely fine. So I don't think you should really worry about that.
Again, a student has asked one questions that do they give rough seat for the cat portion?
Usually, you do get a small rough area for cat. Even if they don't give it to you, I'm sure you'll have a little bit in the corner of your paper that you could work on. But just see that you could always ideate over there. But at the same time, keep it as neat as possible because the first impression they have is seeing how neat your paper is. And if you do keep a messy paper, they won't like it from the start. So just ideate, but keep it simple and neat. Can we use micro and fine liners? I think you can. I did not use it for my paper, but if you are comfortable with it, use it. Again, just check that when you do it, it does not come on the other side and it won't affect your other artwork. That's it.
Lakshita from YouTube has asked this question. Sir, I am very good at drawing. Could I get into NIFT Delhi? Yes, of course you can of course you can get into NIFT Delhi. Just you need to attempt the paper very nicely and calmly, and just do well in the examinations with your cat part itself. But it doesn't mean that you should escape GAT part. You should attempt as many questions as you can. Any specific things, Naomi, that you want to answer for this question?
I would say, of like how Saw said, if you're good at drawing, that's really good because CAT does play a very big role. But again, also give GAT enough focus because just doing CAT won't help you for your rank. You'll need GAT to support you. So again, if you're good at drawing, see that it's come out on the paper and you're doing really well for it. But again, for GAT, do all the parts, don't miss any questions because your CAT is good. Always, even GAT should be given that much if importance. And if you're drawing as well, you'll get a really good rank. Don't worry about that.
So, student is also asking about your experience or what your college, how is it going on?
It's going really well. Today we didn't have a lot of class. Instead, in Delhi, there's a book fair going, so we had gone for that. Right now, there's a lot of noise about Spectrum that's coming up. So everyone's, I think, a little bit more excited about that. There's a lot of teams that are being formed. So yeah, it's really fun. I'm sure you'll all enjoy it a lot. It's very chaotic, a lot of assignments. There are times you won't sleep at night, but it's all part of the fun. I think in the end of the day, everyone gets used to it. You'll have a lot of fun. Don't worry about that.
Rupasri, I guess you need to use only one side of the question paper, not the both side. And again, you need to turn off the page, like both sides, and just check whatever things is there. You need to respond accordingly.
How much question we should attend for CAT? I mean, how much should we target?
I think it's how much you know. First of all, again, like I said, attempt all the questions that you're good at and you're 100% sure are right. Always start with a part that you think you'll do well. If you think GK is your forte, start with that. If it's reasoning, start with that. Then go to the parts which you're not good at. If you think, obviously do as many questions as you can. Once you think you're done with more than half the paper and you think you've done well, then start with the questions you aren't 100% sure about. If you think there are a few questions that you can guess and it's okay for you to lose that 0.25 marks because you've done well, then go for it. If you think your previous wasn't as well and you aren't 100% sure about it, then I would say don't risk it as much.
For the MFM student, there will be another session that will be tomorrow. So you may ask questions related to MFM exams tomorrow itself. So this is basically focused on the design part.
Yes.
student. So thank you so much, everyone, that you have joined these sessions. Lastly, I would like to just know about the Naomi again. The same questions that what what strategy should we follow in the exam itself? Like how to just summarize these things.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, sir. Could you repeat again?
What a strategy? Like which question should attempt first? Which question should
Okay.
attempt at the last? And like last moment, what steps should we take?
Okay, fine. Like I said before, I'm sure all of you all have done all kinds of questions. You've been working a lot, and Ignite India has amazing teachers, so everyone has been teaching you really well. Now, what you should focus on in the next 2 days is just going through previous work. Learning something new is just going to freak you out, and you don't want to do that. You can't work. I mean, I personally can't work under extreme pressure, so calm yourself down, do things that will keep you happy. You can go through previous work and just go through your friends work, because you'll get a lot of ideas during the exam. Again, right before the exam, don't learn anything new. It's not going to help you. A lot time for every question. So for example, if it's for cat, each question give it 1 hour. Please give ample amount of time to ideate as well as to write down your concept. Keep your concept as short and simple as possible. Always give it a title. Always have an inspiration. Underline their most important words, because, again, the teachers might not have enough time to read everything. When it's coming to the drawing part, always have an interesting layout. Don't go out of the box if they ask you not to. Read the question. A lot of the times they might ask you just keep it in black and white, so don't make the mistake of coloring it. If they ask you to do something related to nature or sustainability, please keep that in mind. I think a lot of people made that mistake of a while ago. When it comes to GAT, start with something you're good at. If you think comprehension is going to take a lot of time, then do it a little later. Or if you think you're good at it, keep going ahead. If there's a question that you're scared or you're worried about that you can't do well, skip it. Always come back later to it. Don't worry about it now, because do the questions that you're very good at, because doing a question you aren't 100% sure about, you're going to waste a lot of time and you're going to start panicking. So don't do that. And in the end, please go through everything, because there might be a small spelling mistake, there might be something you forgot to color. Those small things will help a lot. So yes, keep like at least 5 or 10 minutes just to go through back through everything. And always keep all your stationery sharpened, keep everything ready. For me, I remember they wanted us to have everything in transparent pouches. So I would recommend you to do that. A lot of people had to just carry it in their hands because they did not get transparent pouches. So that's just one thing I would say. Even plastic bottles to drink water.
Thank you so much time. Thank you so much, Naomi, for your time. And student, thank you. You may leave the sessions now.
Thank you. All the best, everyone. I'm sure you'll do it really well.
And one more last things from my side.
Yes.
From today itself or by tomorrow, just take out the print out of admit card and just take a Aadhaar card with yourself during the exam.